walking may be the best COVID exercise. You don't need a membership. You can go at your own pace, and you can help reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, and even depression. So it's no wonder that when author Paul Haddad's book, 10,000 Steps a Day in LA, came out, it went to the bestseller list. Paul joined us to talk the walk. It is a pleasure to meet you. My family thanks you for these walks.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lisa.
Okay, when did you write the book and why?
I originally wrote the book in 2015, 10,000 Steps a Day in LA, 52 walking adventures. And the reason it was 52 was there was one for each weekend of the year. In the interim, the book was very popular. My publisher asked me if I would do a second edition and include some extra walks. So the most current version is 57 walks.
Well, it is so important that we go out and explore our city because not many of us are very comfortable going on a true vacation, right? But we can have little mini breaks right here in our own backyard. And of course, everybody, if they don't have a Fitbit, they have their smartphone and they're counting those steps anyway. Let's start with one of the walks. Sounds just absolutely lovely, and that's Griffith Park.
Griffith Park it's the largest park in the United States. And even despite that, it's kind of unsung because we just kind of take it for granted. But there's so much to do within the park and within the environs around the park. So one of the walks in my book is to start on Los Feliz Boulevard, where you have the Deodar cedar trees, which are about 100 years old. It's a great green belt for the summer, lots of shade. And then you take that to Ferndale, and a lot of people are probably familiar with Ferndale. It's kind of this wonderland of overgrown ferns and a babbling brook. Again, nice and shady for these hot summer days. And then I usually end up going to Trails Cafe, which is an outdoor cafe situated in an old kind of kiosk that used to belong to the Rangers. And then you walk up the hill to the observatory. And so I like walks where you can be on sidewalks, but also amongst nature. And when you get up to the observatory, it's a nice downhill walk back to where you started. It's a really good 5-mile loop because 10,000 steps is about 5 miles.
Well, and you'll be able to burn off that avocado and sprout toast that you get at the cafe, right? So it's perfect.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And the bird sanctuary and the Greek theater?
Yes. So as part of this one walk through Los Feliz, as you're coming back from the observatory, you pass an old area called the bird sanctuary that largely was put together by volunteers of the Boy Scouts. And it's one of those areas of Los Angeles that the Works Progress Administration bankrolled, a lot of artwork, engineering projects, civil projects around the city during the FDR era. I always like places that are remnants from old LA that were part of the old infrastructure. So the bird sanctuary is kind of crumbling now. It's not what it used to be, but it's still worth exploring just because it's got some nice man-made stone bridges, and I don't think there's any more birds there than in the rest of Griffith Park, but it's worth checking that out. And then, of course, the Greek theater is iconic.
In sort of the mid-city Wilshire area, we all think of LACMA and the La Brea tar pits, but you take us on a walk that really explores some of the beautiful architectural gems of old Hollywood, old Los Angeles.
Yes, everyone's familiar with the Miracle Mile, and that's certainly a walk in my book. It's starting around LACMA and then working your way up to Farmers Market and down through the Grove and then back. But I like an area just east of that. It's an area that encompasses mostly the Mid-Wilshire district to MacArthur Park. And that has some of the oldest architecture in Los Angeles, as you said. It's got the Bullock's Wilshire building. It has a lot of great neon signs on the buildings in that corridor there, Wilshire, the Wilshire Boulevard Temple, Chapman Market, which is this amazing it used to be a marketplace with this amazing architecture, this frieze work in front of it that in itself is worth checking out. And then there's the ghosts of LA past on this walk. So you have the former site of the Ambassador Hotel, which is now Robert Kennedy Learning Center. And of course, he was assassinated there. And right across the street where the original Brown Derby was. And there's a strip mall there now, of course, this being Los Angeles. And the original dome of the Brown Derby has been repurposed, and it's part of, I don't even know what it is. I think it's maybe part of a restaurant now, but it's been moved and painted over and shoved into the back of the strip mall. So it's worth going up to the second floor and checking that out when you're in that portion of Wilshire.
Before we go, take us back to the wilderness, if you could, where we started, but this time the Sepulveda Dam.
Sepulveda Dam is it's that flood control basin that you see from the 405 and 101 freeway. This particular walk takes you through Balboa Lake. There's various creeks. There's a Japanese garden, and it's really the best place to go to bird watch in the valley. It's also very quiet. You can really lose yourself amongst all the wilderness there. And for me, when I need a nice respite, I'm going to Sepulveda Wilderness Reserve.
All right, Paul, best walk for early in the morning, best walk for that evening golden hour.
Let's go early in the morning first. I think really, even it could be middle of the day. There's a walk I love doing through La Cañada Flint Ridge because there's a perennial stream there. And the golden hour, I'd be by the beach.
Paul Haddad, the book, 10,000 Steps a Day in LA. Again, my two college kids who are bored out of their gourd. Thank you so much for giving them something to do.
Of course. Thanks, Lisa.